welcome to the Chapter 1 Mid-Chapter Quiz Review. Mid-Chapter Quiz Review. Now, this is the same as what in your textbook says Mid-Chapter Quiz. It's on page 30. Pretty soon, when you come back to school next, you will be taking your mid-chapter quiz, but it's not going to be exactly the same as this one. So we're going to use the textbook version of the quiz in order to review you for the real one, which will mirror it. So let's try this out together. I'll do a few problems from every section. The rest will be yours to do together in class and finish up for homework and use as a studying tool. So problem number 1 says we need to write a verbal expression for each algebraic expression. We'll do our first one, which is 21 minus x cubed. And I would just write down 21 minus x to the third power. Not so difficult. Now, the next set of directions for problems 3, 4, and 5 say write an algebraic expression for each verbal expression. Let's try problem number 3 together. The problem is 5 more than s squared. Not so tricky. We can do 5 more means that something's going to be there with 5 added onto it, and clearly this is going to look like s squared. We know how to say that. So this would be, let me put a box around our answers first so you know what the answer actually is. That would be a good answer. And s squared plus 5 would be a good answer to this one. Now, there's a car rental one. I think these are frequently the most difficult, so I'll get you started on that one. The XYZ Car Rental Agency charges a flat rate of $29 per day plus 32 cents per mile that you drive. We need to write an algebraic expression for the total cost of a rental car that is driven for X days, and it is in total driven for Y miles. So X equals days, and Y equals miles. Now, we can reason through this and then check it. It would be 29 times the number of days plus 0.32 times the number of miles. I think you can finish that one on your own. Just need to simplify. We need to now evaluate each expression. This is the next section. We're going to evaluate 24 divided by 3 minus 2 times 3. And by the way, this just reviewed you for everything that could be on your quiz from section 1-1, variables and operations. This next piece is from order of operations, section 1-2. So 24 divided by 3, we always do, there's nothing special here. We're going to do addition and, multiplication and division before we do the subtraction. So that comes out to 8, this comes out to 6, and then we have the answer of 2. Not so tricky. The hardest one in this section, I think, is number 10, which is 40 minus 2 cubed, which is 8. We had a mistake in a previous video where I said it was 9, but it's not, it's 8. And times 2 squared. Here's our expression. This is going to be equal to, well, first let's consider that everything on the top can be considered in parentheses, and everything on the bottom can be considered as being in parentheses. So let's work on one side, and then we'll work on the other side. 40 minus 2 cubed is going to be 40 minus 8, because 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And this part will be, let's try the exponent. This is going to be 4, so this is 4 plus 3 times 4, which is, now keep in mind we can do this in parallel because the top and bottom really affect each other's values. This is going to be 32 over 4 plus 12, which is 32 over 12 plus 4 is going to be 16, which is, This is our answer. Now, that one was a little bit trickier. The key is to just remember that basically you can rewrite any problem like this as 40 minus 2 cubed divided by, and then the bottom is in parentheses, 4 plus 3 times 2 squared. So top and bottom are both considered as in parentheses. And once you've got that, you're golden. Let's try the next piece, which should review us a little bit further on the properties of numbers. So this was 1-2, order of operations. Next one is properties of numbers. Now, there are some tricky problems in between, in particular word problems that will appear on your test. One about an amusement park, the other one writing another algebraic expression. We'll not do those. You can do them in class. I have confidence in you. We'll start out with properties of numbers review questions, which is number 13. Every time we do a step for this problem, we have to write out what property of numbers we used. Now, let's see if I can do this from memory, because it's not shown in the teacher edition of the book. 8 minus 2 cubed. Well, I am going to say that this is, I need to evaluate that first. So this is 8 minus 2 to the third, which is 8 plus 21. What step did I use? This would just be taking care of that exponent, simplifying an exponent. It's really all we did. You could also say multiplying. Technically, you kind of multiplied. We just did 2 times 2 times 2 over and over again. Another way of saying it is that technically you used substitution. You knew that 2 times 2 times 2 was 8. So you substituted in 8 for that one. Now that we know we use substitution, we can do 8 minus 8 plus 21. Now, we'll do 8 minus 8 first, according to the order of operations, which is 0 plus 21, substitution again. Now, technically there is a property that helps us know that, and we can go back in our notes to figure out what property that is we used. Remember where we had the additive inverse property where you add a number to its negative or you subtract it from itself? That, and it brings you back to 0. We use the additive inverse. So we did substitute, but the reason we knew we could substitute is that we used additive in our knowledge of the additive inverse rule. So I would accept either of those. Now we just have to add 21, which gives us 21 as our final answer. We're going to put a box around it. Now keep in mind that although, again, this is another example kind of substitution, there is the additive identity property that says 0 plus a number is that own number. So we're going to write additive identity. Please be as specific as you can. You would put additive inverse here and additive identity for the last one. That's about it. Make sure you review those properties. Let's try our next section. Now, this part was on properties of numbers. That was section 1-3. We are now going to review section 1-4 on the distributive property. Section 1-4 starts with question number 18, where we have to use the distributive property to rewrite all of the equations. So I can distribute and say that this is the same thing as 3 times 5 plus 3 times 2. And that is going to come out to 15 plus 6, which is 21. Not so hard. I think you can distribute things. Now, the next tricky part is when we have to use the distributive property again to rewrite expressions. I'll pick a little bit, well, you know, they're all of similar difficulty. Let's do number 22, actually. 6 minus 2y times 7. It can be on either side is fine. So that's going to be the same thing as 6 times 7 minus 2y times 7, which is, 5 times 7 is 35, so this will be 42, minus, remember, it doesn't matter what order the numbers are in, you can multiply them first, minus 14y. And we did it, 42 minus 14y, all done. Now, there is a word problem here, which I'm pretty sure you can do. You just have to be able to write the expression, and then once you're done with that, you can evaluate it. So we basically just reviewed the distributive property section 1-4, and that's it for your quiz. Now, there are still a few problems you have to do, so I would say practice those word problems. Make sure you're really good at them, and if you're not sure how to do word problems of a certain type, try extra homework problems. I'm not going to grade you on them, but I will tell you if you got the right answer, and some of them are answered in the back of the book. So good luck with that, and be ready for your upcoming quiz.